everybody. Welcome back to episode 32 of The Clydes. Welcome to our daylight episode. We never film during the day.
We never do,
It
but
looks so nice with the window, right?
it's once again a travel day for Liz, so we have to film this early before
Yeah.
I fly out to Texas.
What's in Texas?
We're going to a women's conference, and so even though I'm in my travel clothes, there's a difference. If you watch the video of last week's episode, I got a little self-conscious because people said I looked like a boy.
Little bummy. But to be fair, that was a child.
Okay,
said
yes,
that.
but it hurts. It still hurts. But this is my airport bumminess because there's a difference between car road bum visiting friends versus Texas,
Sure.
Outfit flying to a women's conference.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
So I tried a little bit today.
So this is the...
This is the flight look. So leggings, a nice baggy t-shirt, some comfy sneakers. Did put on a little bit of makeup, so it's okay.
Makes sense. Because you're going to see a bunch of people in the airport.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's a girls' trip, so it's either going to go one way or the other. Super bum or super not. And I was super bum last time, so we're not doing that this time.
I love it. You look great.
Thank you.
And if
Thank
you're
you so
listening on
much.
Spotify, you have no idea what she looks like. So you just have to assume that she looks great. But it's a
Too
safe
kind.
bet, because she does.
Thank you. Thank you, love.
Cool.
Brownie
Hey,
points.
we're on episode 32, and as you saw when you clicked on the episode, we're talking about finding your balance today. So just first off, just to welcome everybody back to the Clydes, place where we talk about, I always like to repeat this because we get new listeners every
We do
week.
get a lot of
and
new
so they
listeners,
don't really know
especially
what
in
we're doing.
India. We have listeners in India
We
right
really
now.
do. It's kind of odd.
Welcome.
But really cool. But the
Shout out
Clydes...
to India. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, it's all good. Welcome to our worldwide audience. Probably one person listens in India, but it's okay. Because they show up on the analytics and
We appreciate you.
represent their country. So this podcast is just a place where we've always wanted it to be an audio journal kind of thing. And so it's a place where we're both kind of in ministry and working in the church and things like that. And so it's a place where we talk about ministry. It's a place where we talk about relationships and pretty much anything else that we're learning in our life. And so we're excited that you're joining us for this episode today. I want to ask yourself, if you've ever found yourself thriving in one area of life, but realizing that you're completely dropping the ball in another area. And that can be the most frustrating place to be when you feel like you're killing it in one arena, on one side of your life, only to look and go, I completely forgot about that project. I completely forgot to do this thing. Oh, I haven't done this in so long. And so it's really hard to keep your eye on everything going on. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And as always, as you heard, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Elizabeth Clyde.
Hello.
It's good to have you, Liz.
It's good to be here.
So if you're listening on Spotify, you know that every single week we drop a Q&A. And this past episode, we asked you guys to share with us something that you've done that has helped you to grow. And I just want to hit on two of them. One of them, we asked the question, hey, what do you do to grow? That can be conferences, that can be workshops, that can be courses that you bought, that could be whatever, fill in the blank. And it was kind of cool. We got two really cool responses that I want to go through. And just to hit on two, one of them was spending time in nature.
You love that. You thrive in doing that.
I love it. I love it so much. It could, what I haven't done in a long time?
Go on a walk in the morning. Oh, Eno.
I haven't taken out my hammock.
Well, it's been cold.
It has been freezing. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. But even before that, it's been probably 2 years.
Doubt it.
Gosh, I used to go all the time. We have this nice little park by our house, and it is so nice. I need to go. I need to go again.
Just do it.
Why do you think spending time in nature helps somebody to grow?
Isn't it? There's scientific facts behind this.
Mm-hmm.
You know more than I because you're the nature dude. But it literally, I know a study shows that just putting your feet in grass significantly
Wow,
reduces stress.
That's awesome.
And so it's just something peaceful about it, something where you have to pause and appreciate just
Sure.
the beauty that's around you.
Wow.
Kind of takes the focus off of you and puts it into something calming. So I think that's why I love sitting on the beach and just listening to the waves.
All right, so I'll put my feet in the grass, and that is super calming. That's amazing. But when I put my feet in sand,
You don't
I
want to
hate it.
wiggle your toes.
I hate that because the sand's going to come home with me. It's going to go in the car. It's going to go in the carpet.
Now, if you go to the nice beach and rinse off at the stations right before the course.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true. Okay, so spending time in nature, I love that. It keeps you grounded and keeps you focused on the big picture. The other thing that I want to hit on was therapy and seeking out a counselor. Now, this is something that both Liz and I have taken part of. She more than I have consistently. But man, there was, and we've talked about this on the pod before, but there has been such a stigma with therapy and with counseling in the church, especially, and people in faith, because I think the easy answer is just pray about it and God will take it all away. And it's like, okay, first off, that is terrible theology, because I am of the camp that I believe that God allows these things to happen so that we can grow. Never gives us more than we can handle. However, he does allow these things to happen in our life.
It's just the beautiful imagery of whenever a very bad storm comes. Once again, science. I love it when God and science, like science and nature proves like the existence of God.
Yeah, so good.
But a flower or a plant, their roots go deep down so they can stay rooted whenever a storm comes. And so I feel like that's just such a beautiful imagery. People say, why does God allow bad things to happen? Well, granted, that's a whole theological debate, but we don't get ripped up. We don't get displanted, He's always going to be there.
Uprooted.
Displanted. I feel like that works too. Displanted
That's
to
so
you
good.
and you.
No, but we are advocates of counselors and therapy. We've got an amazing counselor at our church. He's phenomenal. And there's just such a power in continuing to pray, continuing to read the Bible, and also getting clinical help, from somebody. So really good stuff, guys. Thanks for sharing on that Q&A. Be looking out for the one on this episode. You probably already saw it. So be sure to post about that. Well, let's jump in to our conversation today on finding balance. Do you want to open us up and let's talk really quickly first before we start talking about anything else about our own struggles with finding balance? And maybe you could give us, from your perspective, your vantage point, some things that maybe you've struggled to strike a balance in, or things like that.
I struggle so hard in this, so hard. For example, I've talked about it before, that third job, I do not have time for it, and I'm stinking it up. Like I'm such a flake, which does not look good on me and my kid, but I'm so just not even busy. I could make more time for it, but it's the balance I'm struggling with. And so now I don't want to quit and leave them hanging with the few tasks that I do for them. Or whenever I have to wake up at 4 a.m. because I said yes to too many cakes. So now I have to bake cakes before I go to work. And then you have the friends hang out. And so even though I shouldn't be going to hang out with a friend because I have cakes to do, I'm doing it anyway. And now I have a 2 a.m. cake time. And then I don't see you. And then we've become roommates in seasons because we're just so crazy busy. It's just life.
Yeah, the kitchen's always a mess because there's never time to clean it. So then I get frustrated, and it's just a cycle of that
here's
stuff.
the thing. No, I do clean it, but I just keep on going. As soon as I clean it, it's time to mess it up again.
Yep.
And so it doesn't really stay. I'm always using it.
Yeah.
So I literally will finish an order, clean the kitchen, but then the next day I'm back in it doing another order.
Yeah. The cycle continues.
Boss babe too hard.
That's tough. Why are you boss babing so hard, Liz?
Well,
like, what's your main motivation?
So right now my main motivation is I am stressed out with the big debt we have with our land payment. I have big goals. I would love to pay it off in 5 years.
Yeah.
And I know our income right now cannot do it. And so that's a big motivation.
Makes sense.
It would be nice if I scaled it back a little bit, but maybe I can find a higher paying 9-to-5 job so I don't have to say yes to too many. But it's all a balancing act.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about part of what you just said in just a second later on. But I see what you're saying. 3 jobs is insane. I feel like nobody thinks about
that's not even on
that.
top of my wanting to be a good pastoral role in the church, helping you lead the worship team, helping with just my own ministry, wanting to be more involved with the women's conference. I think I'm helping host that, and then our small group. So that's just 3 jobs on top of all my church roles, on top of social lives. And then
a lot of spinning plates, huh?
Yes, and so where would a kid fit? I don't know, but we'll make room.
It all fits. You just work it out. Mm-hmm. Well, that's good stuff. I think my major struggle with finding balance and striking a balance is that I have as you know, an obsessive personality.
You do.
And so I've got to be really, really careful of the things that I allow in my life. You're going to hate me for saying this because I'm annoying you in this season, but I'm back in my Clash of Clans era. Did I start this in 2016? Right?
So we did Clash of Clans. Literally, I think it was at least 7 years ago.
Dang.
At least.
That's crazy.
And I think I'm being generous with that.
Oh my gosh.
But
it came out a long time ago.
It was a dumb ad. Remember the iPad ad where she was texting and playing Clash of Clans at the same time, and they got you.
No,
they
absolutely
got you.
The freak not. That is not what happened.
Well, then why did you download it again?
Let me tell you guys. Story time with Taylor. I hate. Is it the
double screen?
It's the stupid phone that folds, and the phone is cool. Like, that's a cool concept. Whatever. The stupid thing is that the whole ad is built on multitasking, and they're playing this game,
which is Clash of Clans.
And at the bottom of it, there's either like a video playing or messages going. So it's somebody literally splitting their eyeballs on two different things, which messes with their mind.
Probably sitting on the couch with the TV playing, but we just don't see the TV.
Oh my gosh, because I look at everybody and we're so stressed out and we're so burnt out and we're like, we're so tense all the time, and we wonder why. Because we can't focus on anything, and we're inventing ways to split our literal phones so we can play a game on the top half and watch a movie on the other half. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, rant over.
But that game was Clash of Clans, and that seed was planted.
That's not.
Yep,
I refuse to believe that's where that came from.
Where the heck would you even get the idea to download Clash of Clans?
Jesus. I don't know. But anyways, I'm back in my Clash of Clans era.
Because of the ad.
And it is because of my personality, it's just tough because I spend a lot of time playing it. I am back watching a lot of videos about, town hall strategies and attack strategies and things like that. And
you recently spent money on it?
That's not relevant to the conversation.
I'm just saying you're back in your Clash of Clans era.
I don't see how that relates.
I didn't say how much.
I don't see how that relates at all. That's probably the biggest thing I'm ashamed of, you guys. I just spent money on the stupid game.
So fun.
And it kills me because I'm like, I fought this for so long.
It's fine. But I even say you deserve to have a outlet, a hobby, something that's kind of fun but also mind numbing. That's kind of how anime is for me.
Oh, fair enough.
You need that mental break. And a little hit of dopamine, if you will.
Sure. Oh, I will. I absolutely will. And that's the problem sometimes.
Just not too much. Don't make it a drug.
Exactly. I spend way too much time on it. And the issue with that stuff. Now, here's what I'm not saying. Again, like just what you said. I'm not saying that hobbies are bad, right? I'm not saying that you don't need hobbies, because we talked a little bit about this on past episodes. You need hobbies and stuff. That's pretty important. The thing that becomes the issue is when you don't make time for the things you ought to prioritize and the good things in your life. So for instance, if I'm watching all these videos on attack strategies, if I'm doing nothing but playing Clash of Clans from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, and it's the first thing I see, the last thing I see, and everything that I absorb my time with during the day, that's when it becomes a problem, because suddenly I don't make time for my devotions. And suddenly I don't make time to take a walk outside. And suddenly I don't take time to do all this stuff because I'm obsessed with this. So striking that balance for that is really hard because of my personality. And so that maybe as you're listening to this, maybe that's you. Maybe that's something that you struggle with, or maybe you're also finding yourself in a season where, man, I'm fueled by FOMO, I'm fueled by insecurity with finances or things like that. So I need multiple streams of income. I need to always be a part of something. And so it presents really big struggles. So let's shift a little bit and take us into this this next section, Liz. And let's talk about specifically in ministry, but I have a feeling that we're going to branch out as we talk about this. So take us a little bit take us into talking about finding a balance in ministry.
So we're going to reference this book in a little bit. And I mean, he says it, but so many other people will say it too. There's no such thing as a perfect balance. And granted, if you have a scale, and we all have seen like the little like justice system, like the scale where you're trying to like make it.
She's got the blindfold.
Yeah, and you're trying to make it perfectly level or even, or when you weigh something, for example, how they used to do purchases back in the day, that's like they weighed silver not only in pieces, but it was usually the weight. And so they would have a scale like, we agreed to this much, and so you want the scale to balance.
Sure.
And so when I think of balance, I also think of my gymnastics days on the balance beam. That was a flex for me. Thank you. Just wanted to point that out there.
I love it.
But it's a constant tension, if you will. And so to try and always obtain balance, you're not focused on either or, you're trying to focus the middle. So both suffers. And so that's why, since both suffers and you're always trying to walk that line and not fall and not disappoint anyone, nothing really gets done. It's kind of like that. We joke about the meme or whatever, but the busy mom who will go to change the trash, and then she starts to change the trash, and she notices there's crumbs behind it, so she grabs the broom to sweep it. But while she's grabbing the broom, which is in the laundry room, she sees that there is clothes that needs to be folded, so she starts folding the clothes. And then while she's folding the clothes, and then she worked all day, but nothing got done. And I feel that is a myth of what we balance is managing everything. When we strive to obtain balance, we really don't do anything. And so I feel balance is a myth. There is give and takes and ebbs and flows of seasons. And for example, Easter is coming. So your scale of church life is about to go way higher than probably our personal life.
Yeah.
And I don't feel neglected or spited. I know I'm your first ministry, but I understand the balance of Easter is our Super Bowl. And so your time and devotion is going to be super heavy into the church.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because it's not all the time. And there have been times, for example, just this past Monday, you took off of work and we got to hang out with our friends. And so we put a high priority on our social life this past weekend. So it's not trying to make sure everything is even. It's managing your priorities well. And there's some seasons where you're going to prioritize church. There's some seasons we're going to prioritize our marriage, like our anniversary week. We definitely want to make that special. And when we have kids, there's going to be seasons where we have to prioritize our kids because they're going to need us in whether it's school plays or different sporting activities. So other things will take a back seat.
Really good stuff. Two things that come to my mind as you're saying that stuff is, one, the whole understated or the undercurrent of everything you're saying is, especially with the example of the mom doing all this stuff, is that at some point you have to let go of perfection being your goal. Balance is it's not about striking a balance between everything and being perfectly even. That's never going to happen. And that would be terrible if it does happen. One of the things that Carrie Newhoff said in that course that I took was that as you're trying to be a high impact leader, or as you're trying to be, whatever else you're trying to be in your life, when you chase balance, say you find balance, at the end of that, the finish line of that, you have a person who's just vanilla, right? A person that's just they're kind of lukewarm. They're not ultra passionate about anything. They're balanced, they're moderate, they're blah, blah. And those people aren't really, not to say it's bad, but those people aren't really exciting to hang around. They're not inspiring people. And so I think under everything that we're saying, once you release the idea that you've got to be perfect and that perfection is not the goal, I think you can really do a lot. Second thing is that I have really enjoyed the process of growing in that. So
yes, we have not been great with balance.
Especially me. There have been times where you have literally, one of Liz's favorite things to say.
This is a good one.
Way back in the day when I was really not great at, work-life balance, whatever it is that I would spend so much of our own money on stuff that the church needed.
And so much time on the church.
And I would invest so much in time and in money that she would literally refer to the church in those bad seasons as my mistress, which sounds, I know, it sounds really weird until you realize that.
I was like, you bought your mistress something nice again?
Yeah. If the church was a person and the person of the church was standing right in the room and Liz was standing right in the room, that the person of the church would be dressed better, would be more loved, would have more affection, more of my time involved. And I've actually never thought about that until just now. That's pretty wild to personify that, the church that way. But that's been my favorite process of going, okay, let's grow in this. Let's try our best to make the church experience amazing for people, but also let's love my wife fiercely, and let's try to do both. And then we'll find somehow that median ground. But it doesn't mean that we pull back from anything. I think if anything, we push the gas down and we propel in both directions.
And as we propelled in both directions, that's how I have grown even in a maturity where I understand, like I was saying, there's going to be seasons where you are
Yeah.
going to be at the church late hours. There's
Yeah.
going to be seasons where you're going to come home late, maybe leave early, take work home.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you're not spending our own personal money now, which is
No.
nice. And
Yeah,
it's like the church has money, honey.
But again, that stuff comes with wisdom,
Right.
And age. I hate saying age, but it is something that, like, the more I do this, the longer
We are
I do this,
11 years in ministry, and so that does come with age.
it's maturity. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's
maturity does come with experience. So I
because
think it's-
maturity. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go.
I was going to say that age does not mean that you are mature.
Correct.
Because you could be mega immature and be 60 years old.
And you could have 10 years of experience, but that
Right.
does not mean you've grown those 10 years in
Yeah.
your experience. So
That's super true. Super true.
would you say that's a balance? I'm just kidding. I'm just
Kind
kidding.
of. For what it's worth, too. Can you grab that
Yes.
one?
Oh, please
So-
don't fall.
The book that we are like kind of referencing, I don't like okay, don't kill me, but I don't like super recommend this, but it's called The Myth of Balance. It may be backwards for you. I have no idea. But it's The Myth of Balance by Frank Beeler. Got this from
We had like 4 copies of this. So I was like, why do we...
I don't know.
We were just discussing and brainstorming what we wanted to talk. And one of my favorite things is I'm like, well, let's look at our bookshelves to see if anything jumps out of
Sure.
us.
Yeah.
And so because we have 4 of these books, I'm like, what the heck? And so really it's a big old word that says balance. I'm like, let's talk about balance and the myth
Yeah.
of it. So we're going to reference this book a little bit, but it's been a hot minute since we read it.
It could be good. It's mega short, so I mean, it's probably on Amazon, and it cannot be more than $10.
Or if you want, we'll mail you this.
Great. Now you got to pay for postage and stuff.
I'll do that. If
So,
you guys want it, I'll mail you
it's
one.
cool stuff. But one of the things that he says in that, obviously he says that balance doesn't exist, and that's kind of a wild concept. But I love this quote. Let me read this to you. He says, "We all know ministry," and again, we're talking specifically about ministry, but maybe we should expand it to include some other things as well.
Family, social,
Yeah,
hobbies,
yeah.
job.
He says, "We all know ministry is challenging, and there's potential for disaster in our lives due to the pace that we run." Right. But there's also potential for tremendous success, amazing adventure, and transformed lives. Who would want to slow down when that's where the race is taking us? And so for me, that's the hard part of serving at church, especially in one our size. There's always something to do. And there's always another event. There's always something past Sunday morning that's happening. And I think for a lot of people, they experience that fear of missing out to some extent.
Yeah,
And-
when I first saw that quote in the notes,
Yeah.
that was the first thing I thought of was
Right.
FOMO.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
If the church doors is open, I'm going to be there. And
Yeah.
I would even say, I remember when we first got to Faith and we had a Sunday event, I was shocked and slightly, I wouldn't say offended, but it did make me feel some kind of way because we were coming from a smaller church and there was some kind of event, maybe it was youth, but I remember not seeing our lead pastor there.
Oh, yeah.
And
I love this.
I was like, where is he at? Does he not care? And it took me a while to realize that he does not have to be at every single event just because the church door is open. And then it took us even longer to realize we do not have to be at every single event, even though
Yeah.
the church door is open.
Yep.
So, Taylor, how do you stay grounded and present in church events? Because I get to be a little bit on the blissfully unaware side, but you, even a lot of the events, especially when you were in the creative role, you had your hand in almost everything. So how did you stay grounded and present, like planning the events or even the events we attended, not having to think through all the background stuff of it? Does that question make sense?
It does. Solid idea. Solid question. I have found, just as a really practical thing, in the worship arena especially, Sunday mornings are insane. I'm serving right now at our broadcast campus, and so not only do I lead for the,
Everyone.
1,500 people that are in the room on Sunday mornings, but I'm also leading for those that are watching online and all of those people. And so the easiest thing to do is to get swept up with all the details and all the chaos that happens of this computer's not turning on, or these lyrics aren't put in, or this person didn't show up, and this instrument's not working. And nobody can find this thing. And there's so many details. I mean, every single Sunday, nothing works perfectly every single Sunday, especially in something our size. But one thing that I've tried to do is get to the church early enough on a Sunday morning, game day, right? Busiest time of the day, or busiest time of the
week.
The week, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And get there early enough to where I can get everything set up. I can make sure that my hands on everything, everything is in its place. Everything's how it should be. It's all ready for our dream team to come in. And then I love to sit on the couch in the dream team, or in the what is this? Green room. Mm-hmm. I love to sit on the couch in the green room, and I love to just not do anything. Sometimes I'll read the Bible to get my mind focused on the set and the things that I want to focus on in that morning. Sometimes I'll scroll social media. Sometimes I will read a book. Sometimes I'll just kind of sit there and just maybe have some light music playing, because your boy always has to have a candle going and music in the green room 24/7. Mm-hmm. And so, but I'll do my best to just rest for a second and not give in to the tensions of the morning. And that is so hard for some people, because I think that there's this fear of, if something goes wrong, it's my head on the chopper and everything has to go perfectly. And yeah, I mean, you should feel the weight of what you're doing and the responsibility. But what I found is when I arrive early enough to get my junk together and then I just sit, I'm a way better leader. And I'm a way better friend. Because that's the cool part. Like we have this balance of leader and friend with the people that are in our church and on our team. And I want to do my best to invest in them personally, not just to lead them, not just to get what I can out of them. So that's a really practical thing, to stay out of the weeds and to stay grounded with the people around me. I think just remembering that they are people too, mm-hmm. and that they are my friends and that we're on the same team.
Yeah, I feel one of the biggest growth you've had in ministry is to know that people are people and not pawns. And so that sounds very drastic, but so oftentimes, if we're honest, we will approach relationships of, what can I get out of this? Yeah. What can you do for me? And in ministry, it's all about serving. And so whether you serve on the worship team or not, whether you become a greeter or not, how can I serve you? What can I do for you? I value you as a person. If you do nothing for me, I want you to know you are loved, you are seen by God, and you have value. And so I feel like it does come with maturity, because mm-hmm. especially when you're a youth pastor, you're trying to fill your team, or if you're a kids pastor, you're trying to find nursery volunteers. At the end, it's not about what they can do for you. And yeah,
can I tell you, if you're listening to this, young leader, I don't care what is happening in your life. I don't care what other sources that you're pulling from, and I'm saying this in all the humility I can, but there's nothing that I have found in my entire life that is more impactful than what I'm about to tell you. When you get to the point to where you realize that you are just, as a leader, stewarding the gifts, talents, and abilities that God has placed in someone else, and you're not trying to build your own kingdom, you unlock something mm-hmm. in your team, and you unlock what God is wanting to do in your ministry. And I cannot tell you how impactful that has been for me. Back in the day, I would operate in manipulation like crazy.
And every time someone transitioned out, whether it be because they're moving, or we had a lot of Navy people, so mm-hmm. they got new orders, or they got married, so now they're going to someone else's church, yeah. you would take it so personally. Yeah. And you would be so offended and mad.
Because when they left, in my heart, at some level, in this unhealthy part of my heart, when they left me exposed. So if, let's say, a great bass player on my team leaves, bass players are kind of hard to find at a campus level. And it was challenging, because when they left, I had a hole, and now I had to fill it. And if I didn't, then I felt like I would look bad. And it was like, dude, that's so far from reality.
With me, it was a little bit about not leaving a hole. It was about, I invested so much in you. Why are you leaving?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You know, and so I took it kind of personally that they were leaving me.
Yeah.
I was like, I loved you so much. Why are you ripping my heart out? Instead of, I'm so excited that God has positioned you and is transitioning you and is going to grow you in this next season.
Sounds like a little bit of main character syndrome.
A little bit. Pick me. Choose me. Love me. But let's just talk about ways to pursue balance. We know it's impossible. Yeah. There's no such thing as balance.
Balance is a myth.
Yep. But one ways, and I feel like this has been one of the great routines we set in our life, is set priorities. So usually we haven't done it lately, so this is a good challenge for us. We will ask each other, we used to write it down. I don't know if you still write yours down, but we will ask each other what our big three was. So if nothing else got done with the day in the day, if the laundries didn't get folded, if the floors did not get swept. Yeah, swept. I had to think. What is the three things that we need to do today to make today a win?
The big three.
The big three. And so we still talk about it like verbally, but we used to go as far as to write it down.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
In setting priorities, we're going to give you guys three things that you can do to pursue balance. You're never going to find it because I don't believe that balance exists. I think it's a myth. However, that doesn't mean it's like,
don't just give up and be like, well, can't balance anything. I'm not going to care about anything.
Exactly. I do think that you should still pursue balance so that you can continue to grow and mature. But anyways, we're going to give you three quick things as ways to pursue that. So the first one, like you said, is set priorities. And for me, here's what it looks like. That looks like I'm literally taking out a journal and I'm writing down, okay, here are the things that I value in my life. That could be, just thinking on the top of my head, that could be songwriting. That could be family. That could be, and this is in no specific order. Obviously, I'm just trying to think of things in my head.
I feel less than.
That could be, that could be reading. That could be creative writing if I'm trying to write a book. Hello. That could be fitness. That could be all kinds of things.
And your priorities can shift every day. So on Monday, a priority can be, I want to really clean the house from the weekend, and that way I can enjoy it the whole week.
Definitely.
On Tuesday, that could be Thursdays could be a priority is working out. So you do not have, it's not a set all, be all, live all to a routine. This is, your big three can change every single day.
Your big three definitely can, but what I'm saying is I think that you should make these general enough to where they are overarching, to where they don't change. These are kind of like, look at your life values, the things that in your life you value the most. And so for a lot of people, that is family. And then
so you're talking about creating values and then setting those as priorities.
Pick those values and then order them. Put a literal number, 1, 2, 4, 5. Like, it doesn't have to be. That way you know what your main focuses are, and then you can really, really attack them. And be shameless about that. If you want work to be a major priority of your life, if you want to climb the ladder and you want this to be a priority, maybe you put that above other things, but you've got to number them so that you have a direction for your life and you know what you need to say yes and say no to. So yeah, number one, set priorities. That's really good. The second one, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to just say the second one, set boundaries. That's something I probably struggle with the most because you have to learn to, to say no to other people. Sometimes you have to learn to say no to yourself and challenge yourself that you're not going to go to that event or you're not going to take part of it, kick FOMO in the face. My thing is with coming to boundaries, I am a natural people pleaser at heart.
Sure.
And so even though for example, I'm about to head out of town today. Someone asked me for a cake for this Saturday. And thankfully I was too expensive for them.
But I could do this.
I was literally going to say yes.
Oh, of course you were.
I was like, you know what? I'm already making cupcakes for this. I could make some batter. And I was trying to wheel and deal in my head how to make this work.
Yeah.
But I gave them the price, and by the grace of God, I was too expensive for them.
Yeah, thank God.
But that's just something I struggle with, setting boundaries, because I am a people pleaser. So a lot of the times with my cakes and cookie classes, having so many people, it's not even about trying to make the money. It's because I don't want to say no and I don't want to disappoint people. So that could be something you have to grow personally in.
Yeah.
I have another book recommendation of, I think it's The Best Yes by Lisa Turkis. Something. I don't know. It's not that. I told Taylor we should every once in a while have a book club episode because as you see, if you're watching, we have so many books. So we each grab a book every so often and literally we tell each other about the books we read.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So I think that would be fun. But that's boundaries.
So another thing I would add to setting boundaries is if you're listening to this, please don't make your boundaries weird. And I guess don't talk about your boundaries weird, because a lot of times people will go, yeah, you got to set boundaries and you got to clearly communicate those to people. I don't give a rip what your I care what your boundaries are. Don't get me wrong. What I don't want is for you to say, I'm not going to be able to go to that because I'm really trying to blah, 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 blah. And you make the conversation weird. And I feel like you make the other person feel a little bit uncomfortable because they may feel like they've put you out accidentally. And it's like, just have your boundaries and stick to them.
You don't have to over-explain.
No, give them grace and operate in that and have a little bit of moderation with it. Still keep your boundaries, but don't like... I don't know. Don't make it weird. Don't overshare with people that your boundaries are.
Actually, I'm not going to go to this because I'm really trying to set boundaries and I just don't want to cross that line. And I'm really trying to respect myself.
I will roll my eyes so hard at you if you tell me that. But if you don't tell me that and you just go, no, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I'll be like, oh, that's cool. That's chill. And then we move on. And it's perfectly fine. But I think a lot of times, this is a rabbit trail too.
It's fine.
You just don't have to over-explain that stuff. You just let it be so in your heart and then just say your piece, speak your piece and move on.
It's also very empowering because I used to be an over-explainer. I wanted to people, because once again, I'm a people pleaser. So if I had to say no to someone or if I felt like I was disappointing you, I wanted you to know that it was not my intention to disappoint you.
Yeah.
And so I would overshare, over-explain. My favorite term is over-communication.
Oh, yeah.
Which is good in some areas, but not great in others. Hey, I can't make it to your event because I can't get off the toilet and my bowels has been blah, 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 blah. No.
Wow.
All you had to do is say, like, I'm just saying that's an example. I have not done that. But just like, hey, I'm not
Has
feeling well.
anyone said that to you? Please don't.
I feel like they have, actually.
Oh my gosh.
But it's fine. Go ahead. Let's go to the next point
All
with
right,
that.
we'll wrap up with this. The last way that you can pursue balance. Number 1, we talked about setting priorities. Number 2, we talked about setting boundaries. And the third one, take care of yourself. This is why you gave this one to me. Do the basics.
Taylor's really good at taking care of himself.
We were watching, we love this. We did a Faith Students Camp intro, and it was Walter Sunshine and Julius Peppercorn.
Yeah.
And they were like, clean your room, clean your body.
Soap.
And it was just off the cuff stuff. And for some reason, it was so funny to me.
Why are you saying this?
Well, because when I was like, do the basics, I wanted to be like, take all this, just the basic stuff. Take care of yourself. Here's what it looks like. Drink water. Get
Stay
outside,
hydrated.
see the sunshine, take your daily vitamins, get moving at some point and somehow, whatever that looks like.
Get rest, enough sleep.
Man, do the basic stuff that you know to do. And here's what makes it really easy to do that stuff. You're like, oh man, I don't have time to get 7-8 hours of sleep every night. Like, I don't have time to do all this stuff and to work out and everything. Yeah, you do. When you're saying no to certain things, when you're not trying to cram your schedule and you're not trying to fit
You mean when I'm not going to bed at 12 and waking up at 4 doing cakes?
Why do we go to bed at 12?
Because I said yes.
We've either said yes to too many things and we've stayed up too late doing it, or we have said yes to too many things and we get home and we've crammed our schedule, and that time we just want to veg out and we just want to relax. And that's why we stay on Clash of Clans until 1 p.m. or 1 a.m.
Have you done that?
God, no.
I was gonna say,
I thought you sleep way too much.
I didn't recall you staying up.
No.
There was one time he woke up in the middle of the night and I was kind of awake and he got on his phone. So the next morning I called him out. I'm like, were you playing Clash of Clans in the middle of the night?
I had to train my army.
What, you really were? You said you were checking the time.
Oh, I probably was checking the time.
I was going to say, did you lie?
No, I wouldn't lie to you, but
like
there probably have been times where I needed to train the army. But do all of those basic things that you know is going to take care of yourself, because if we've said it once, we've said it a million times, you're no good to anybody else until you're good to yourself. So 3 quick ways that you can pursue balance. You're not going to really ever attain it because it doesn't exist, but set priorities, set boundaries, and take care of yourself. So let me ask you this as we wrap up, before we close out. Have you set an order to the priorities that are in your life? And if you have, we're talking those major pillars, remember. If you have, what was the hardest and the easiest part to figuring out that order of priorities?
Are you asking me or the...
You.
Okay, because sometimes you ask them about the questions.
You.
So I have never... Well, I probably did forever ago, because when we did the Carrie Neuroff things, I remember numbering them, but I haven't kept that in front of me in a hot minute.
Me neither.
So I do have the values. Working out is not one of them.
Sure.
As you continue to remind me and love.
I don't, actually.
You did too. You said, your back wouldn't hurt so much if you stretched.
That's literally explaining why you're wrong in a situation. Gosh, I'm not going to tell you that Anyways, we got to move on. This is bad.
I mean, that's why I said in love. You don't like, what's it called? Body shaming or
No, I
anything.
don't.
But you you like do those funny jabs.
Gosh.
I was like, I don't need your truth right now.
Liz, you got to help me
I'm
out.
sorry.
Talk about your priorities.
So priorities, definitely ministry is specifically my relationship with God, big priorities, my relationship with you, and then it's usually my relationship with others or my big relationship priorities. I put my cakes business sometimes over some ministry things, which is okay because once again, I have learned I don't have to be at every single ministry event or say yes to everything. And I really I enjoy being a boss babe. And then I even told my third job, I'm like, hey, this is my third job. I don't have a clear job description either. So it makes doing my third job kind of hard.
Yeah.
And so I just let them know I will be available when I can.
Sure.
So those are just some priorities I've set in my life.
What was the hardest part about setting the order of those things? Because at some point you put this above something else. Did that hurt?
It was hard not to feel guilty in doing cakes over some ministry stuff. For example, I love to go to Thursday night band practice, but sometimes Thursday night, if I just am behind in my cake orders or if I have too many, I say no to band practice and I say yes to doing my cakes because I know it's going to be a not late night. If I did band practice, then I'm saying no to sleep. So by saying no to band practice, I can say yes to sleep and then that takes care of me.
Yeah. Super good.
I mean, it's hard because I do have FOMO. I want to see the band people because they're my friends too. I enjoy hanging out with them. And then a lot of the times while y'all are actually doing the gist of practice, that's great anime time. Or great, like piddle time where I get to veg out too. So there's a lot of benefits for me in band practice.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to say no.
I love that. Making it work for you. You're not trapped at the church just because you're my wife and I'm in this, so you have to be a part of it.
No, I truly enjoy being a part. And so I think that's another growth in ministry. Even though I can't sing at all, it's still, I view the worship ministry as our ministry.
Nice. Super cool. I hope they can hear the birds outside.
Maybe. It's very nice.
Get some ASMR for you guys. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us in this conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment and let us know, what you thought about the episode. Maybe some future episode ideas, or really maybe even tell us what you have prioritized and made a priority in your life. I think that could be kind of cool. If you're listening on Spotify, you already know what to do. You saw that Q&A already. Let us know some of the things that you have placed as major pillars of value in your life.
I guess they could comment it on YouTube too.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, drop that in the comment on YouTube.
Yeah.
Answer the Q&A on Spotify as well. Hey, also be sure to follow us on Instagram at Elizabeth P. Clyde.
Elizabeth P. Clyde.
At Taylor Clyde.
Taylor
Super
Clyde.
easy to remember. Send us a DM with some future episode ideas, or just let us know your thought about the show. We'd love to dialogue about what the Lord's doing in your heart through this and hear about all that kind of fun stuff. So until next time,
bye.
We'll see you on the flip side.